everybody. We're back again. Number 22, I believe, if we're keeping score, which I don't think we really are. But this week, it's Three Friends Never End. And it's, of course, making a playlist, making our mixtapes, 21st century style. As always, is Mike Anderson and Dave Duke. And we've come together this week with it was a little different this week. It wasn't a topic. We usually pick a topic and go run with it. But this week we went different. We actually went, and you'll find out as you listen to it, it may be a little chaotic, but we decided that just go off the top of your head. I mean, we all listen to music throughout our day, throughout our weeks, and enjoy stuff that sometimes we'd like the other people to hear, or just music that we decide to put on. And this week, that's what we did. We didn't make a playlist prior to, because usually when we think of a topic, we're always thinking of songs and stocking up. Which one should I use? Which one should I use? And this week we decided just go with it. Just have some fun. Just enjoy it. Throw stuff out there. And of course, as usual, our mixtapes always kind of follow a pattern. But this time we have a little self-reflection. We take a little trip south of the border. So we have a wide assortment of songs that which I admit, initially it was a little chaotic to begin with, but once you got used to it and learn, and like always, these songs are always about appreciating the songs that they pick, because initially we'll have an initial reaction and then, oh, okay, yeah, I don't know about that. But then once you delve into them, you really start to appreciate where they come from. And so, well, maybe not all of them. I'm just gonna throw it out there, but no. But so I started out, and because it was chaotic, I put Genesis. I Know What I Like, one of their off-selling England by the Pound, and then it quickly went to some country songs, or I call them more self-reflection songs. And I think not just the next two songs, but the next 4 or 5 kind of all blend in together. But let's start with After I Know What I Like, which of course doesn't fit in with the rest of them, is Come On Up to the House by Sarah Jaraz by Mike. Mike picked that. And then, of course, Long Old Dusty Road, Jerry Jeff Walker, a Dave Duke favorite. So what'd you think of those songs, Dave? Oh, wait, I should say Mike, because Mike was second. What'd you think of those songs, Mike?
I hated them. No, I actually liked them all. The thing about this, it's like in retrospect, it's easy to go, well, why? That song really sticks out. The song before and after it, they're not really, but you don't know what somebody's going to put on. And in this case, the extra challenge was we couldn't prep really. I mean, we could listen to music all we wanted, but my mind is like a sieve, and so things don't stay in there. And I had moments I couldn't think of songs. And this one, I couldn't think of one. I love the Genesis song. And I'll come back to that in a second. I picked Come On Up to the House by Sarah Jaraz. It was actually an old Tom Waits song, not that old, but and then what you had, Long Old Dusty Road. I love that Genesis song. I've heard it for years. The only part, and I'll ask you this: what's the bit about the wardrobe? What is he? He says, "In my wardrobe." Do you have any idea what he's?
I think it's to play on words, the way he used to play on words. That whole song is kind of just a play on words. So, I think it's more the Witch in the Wardrobe, or the wardrobe, going into the wardrobe, like, what's the book?
Yeah, Line with the Wardrobe.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But didn't Peter Gabriel like to dress up as a flower or something? Maybe he
did. This is one of those for sure. I love it. I used to like the dance. Just throw that out there. And when he did the lawnmower.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about that song. It's like he's happy to be a lawnmower. He's a guy. Everybody's saying, "Go get go on with your life." He's like, I like how I am. What a hippie. But and then mine, Come On Up to the House. It really is a different. It's a song, and there's kind of, I guess, starts a pattern of these about when life is hard, when everything's falling apart, when life is nasty, brutish, and short, things like that. Come on up to the house, And he doesn't really. Tom Waits, who wrote this, doesn't really write too many songs about faith and that kind of thing. And this one has a lot to it like that. I mean, the whole "Come On Up to the House," it sounds like an old spiritual song. And
I
it's
like the
like, you
lyric.
know,
Oh, I like the lyric that he says, "Come off the cross, we need the wood." I like
I,
that.
I was gonna make that comment too. I wrote that down. That's brilliant. I mean,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah. Well, he's not, and my thought on that line is he's not particularly talking about Jesus. He's like,
Right.
don't be a martyr. Get
yeah,
over
just
yourself. Come on.
get over it and come on up to the house, you know.
Right.
Right, right.
Yeah. And she has a great voice. I mean, I love the Tom Waits version, but she has such a great voice and the mandolin and everything. So I've been wanting to play that one for you guys for a while by either of those two. But and then Long Old Dusty Road, you know, puts a tear in my eye every time I hear it. You know, my kids are now one's out of the house, one's only a few years probably out of the house. So yeah, it's kind of seeing things change like that. What do you think, Dave?
Well, you know, well, I'll start with Long Old Dusty Road. It's personal to me, uh, in a way. I didn't hear the song until a few years ago, but 20 odd years ago, or so, probably about 25 years ago, my wife and I, we'd moved a couple times. We moved from in town though, out east, and got 10 acres of land and started building the dream with our young children. We had all of our young children. And so we lived at the end of a long old dusty road. In fact, I tried to find a picture maybe I could put on the background for this podcast, but I ran out of time. But we had that, and it was so it seems almost autobiographical to me, you know, that song. That's where you take your meals. That's where you say your prayers. That's where your children grow. And unfortunately, we had to leave that because we outgrew the house, and also we had a daughter who had some medical issues, so we had to be closer to into town, and we kind of moved away from the country dream. But then years later, we drove out there, and it was kind of sad seeing the old house again, and it kind of had been run down from other people. But yeah, I just like the overall message of it. It's been a favorite song of mine. You know, I love Jerry Jeff Walker, but that's one. But talking to the other songs, though, the Come On Up to the House. We talked about the Come Down Off the Cross, but it was just today that I've listened to this thing a few times, and I know we tend to try to play off each other a little bit, or this song reminds me of this, or the title has this, but you know, sometimes we do that and sometimes we don't. And on this playlist, I don't think it matters. I think there were just times where we just picked a song and it went pretty good after that. And sometimes even contrasted a little bit, and that's okay too. When you're listening to the radio or you're listening to whatever, it's not like you want to hear country, slow song, ballad, country. You know, you don't always do that. Even within a genre, they don't do that. They're going to do 2 or 3 songs and, oh, here's an upbeat one, or here's something different. So I kind of liken it to that. I did see that they had the Tom Waits version. So just today I said, I'm going to click on it just so I can hear what the difference is. Because if you don't know the original, it's hard to appreciate the cover. And it was Tom Waits. Come on up to that. He was growling, man. I mean, he was roaring, you know, which is classic Tom Waits. You got to like him or you don't. But the Sarah Jarosz version was just amazing. I love not just the mandolin, but the violin, the fiddle, the other stuff that's going on there, the bass that's playing. Just becoming a big fan of her music. The Genesis tune, you know, I hadn't heard it in years. It's been a long time. But when it came on, I went, oh, I know that song. Yeah, just a classic Genesis song. I'll talk later about it, but I think my only regret on this playlist is I didn't close the playlist with a classic song like Genesis. But we'll talk about that later.
Oh, we'll talk about that last song. Don't worry. We'll get to it. But moving forward, let me just say, yeah, I try to count how many times she says, "Come on up to the road, come on up to the house." That was kind of interesting because it was also interesting that repetition was kind of big in Long Old Dusty Road as well. Plus, I also liked Come On Up to the House. I like the harmony. The guy kicks in there towards the middle. It's really well done. So moving on, I went with a song. It kind of went with Long Old Dusty Road, Lonely Trip. Of course, I have Fish Fever now because, of course, they have a new album and they're on tour. So I went with Lonely Trip. It's off the new album by Fish. And Dave actually played it. I think actually Trey wrote that during COVID. It was one of those kind of, hey, we're all kind of drifting and stuff, and y'all can talk about it. And then, of course, Bees Wing. I'll just say it right now. It's probably my most favorite, only because it has a lot of impact. You listen to that song quite a bit, and you realize that sometimes there's people out there in relationships like that. I've been in a relationship, where you have this kind of person that wants to be free, wants to do their thing, doesn't want to settle down. And so you got that, and then we had Spirit, which I don't know, Dave can talk about that because, like you said, Dave, it goes all over. But Spirit was a good, adding that African vibe to it. So Dave, you can talk a little bit about these other three songs.
Well, we're going to jump around. I know Mike's going to talk to you. I want to say for the record, real quick, that Bees Wing was my favorite
Right.
song on the playlist as well. I don't know where that came from, Mike, but man, that is just an incredible song. I like the Celtic vibe. I like the folk song kind of thing to it. Great story of lost love, like Jose was saying. She was a lost child. She was running wild. She said, as long as there's no price on love, I'll stay. And you wouldn't want me any other way. And then he goes through it, and then eventually he loses her and realizes, realize that. But I was captivated and locked in on that song. Jose, you said something earlier. Mike said it too. It's like sometimes we listen to the song and it's not that it gets a bad rap, but we're listening to the song in real time and we're thinking about what song we want to play next. So how much are we really concentrating on that song? Sometimes not as much as we should.
Right.
Because that's where I was trying to get at too, where just go with the flow and try to figure out, without preparation. And I caught myself still in the middle of the song going, I think a Jethro Tull thing would go kind of good here. Da, da, da. And then I stopped myself and just said, no, just what song's in your head? And I went, oh, that Spirit song by Krista Berg. I kind of had that in my head. Let's play that one. Did it go perfectly? No, it doesn't. It didn't matter. It was like, I didn't need to find, if you want to be perfect, it was only a few days later that I went, Bees Wing, Tupelo Honey by Van Morrison, because they mentioned the bee and the honey and that would have been perfect. Forget about it. Doesn't
Right.
have to.
No. It's always self-reflection where you can go, man, I could have played that song or I could have done this song, but you got to forsake that. You just got to go with it. Like you said, Dave, sometimes we just got to blend them all together and mix it up there. That's what a mixtape's all about,
Right.
Sharing. Mike,
what'd you think?
Yeah, we're gonna keep repeating each other, I guess, because I've got to go back to that too. It's like, when you're kind of in the pressure of you don't have a list, it's easier to fall into the trap of, okay, wait a minute, I got to start thinking of something. And I get this kind of deer in the headlights thing where I'm like, oh crap, there's no song in my head. But after the first one, I was just like, yeah, it's just like, what does this sound like? What does this make me feel like, And so that was the song that came to mind. And I tried to kind of do that more going forward. But these in particular, well, let's go Bees Wing first. That's Richard Thompson. Well, all of these songs I put on here are ones I've been holding out or whatever. I have not put on yet, and I've wanted to. And that was one I hadn't put on anything by Richard Thompson yet. And I don't know, 22 times 15. Actually, it's more than that. It's a lot of songs, and I love Richard Thompson's music. A little background on him. I played a song once on here by Sandy Denny, who knows where the time goes. Kind of a very mournful song. She was also in that band with him, and I don't know the whole story, but the character in this song, Bees Wing, is based on a couple of people, but one is just kind of wandering. She disappeared for a while and come back. Mutual friend of theirs, of his and Sandy Denny. So he has a lot more songs, and you can bet I'll put some more on. Let's see, Lonely Trip. I like that one a lot. Two things about that. The first one is two different places in it. Listening to it, a Neil Young song would come to mind, and it was just like some little thing in the music. Like the first beginning sounds like a little bit like After the Gold Rush, and then later on when he's doing the chorus, there's this part where he kind of throws in a, or whoever they throw in this, is it a minor chord or whatever, and that immediately reminded me of Powderfinger. So for what it's worth, that's what goes through my mind. But that's a great song. I mean, it's like, we're all kind of wandering, we're adrift, and maybe we'll meet. And this kind of plays into a lot of these songs, it's like kind of being lost or finding yourself or whatever. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But
I wanted to jump in on the Lonely Trip too, because I didn't make a comment about that. Sorry to cut you off. It's in that classic style of Phish. I know that sounds kind of funny, coming from somebody who's just now starting to get into Phish. And I do like the new album Evolve. I almost wanted that song on before this one, but I liked it too. One of the things I picked up on, Mike, you mentioned how certain things sound certain ways, and our ears hear things differently. But when they got into some of the piano part in the middle, for some reason, and it's even a similar cadence, but to me it sounded like the Rolling Stones, Waiting on a Friend. Do you know that song? And how he's got that little roll of the piano? It had the same kind of thought to it. I thought, oh, that sounds very much like Waiting on a Friend. So anyway, liked it. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I like it too. And the album cover's interesting. I'm still not sure what that's about, but somebody can look it up if they want to see what that is. And then Spirit, every time I listen to it, I think the same thing. To me, it reminds me of Peter Gabriel.
Thank you.
Oh, later, Peter. Well, not later, but with the African
Like
stuff
a
and
beat thing or something like that.
Yeah, so much of the sound to it. But it's another one of these songs where it's like I'm an eagle who can no longer fly. I'm about to be taken away by the spirit, and all these songs about transition is kind of interesting. Kind of wondering where our heads were, because I know it wasn't all intentional. But anyway, I liked it too. I did not think I'd like Chris de Burgh because I only knew one other of his songs. But
so you got Don't Pay the Ferryman and you got Lady in Red. Those are the two Chris de Burgh hit songs, right? But yeah, if you delve into some of his other stuff, he's really, really quite good.
I'll go with Mike saying that it reminded me a lot of Peter Gabriel, and but it was a nice song. Again, that was when you initially go from all the kind of self-reflective songs, but this one as well, kind of just but just in a different genre, different kind of feel to it. And then of course, I'm kind of on a Crosby kick, and we've had some songs there. By the Light of a Common Day, if you classic Crosby where he has it, I love the harmonies on that. I just discovered that recently when we've been doing other ones. And then I put just Scrubs, but All I Know, Jimmy Webb with Linda Ronstadt. I love that song. I'll just throw this out here real quick. Mike's choices were all spot on, I thought. I'll just throw that out there. He was kind of the MVP of this. He really had a lot of great selections.
Go, Mike, go, Mike, go, Mike.
Maybe not the Nuevo Laredo, even though I enjoyed that later Nuevo Laredo. We'll get to that. But no, all those, and then of course, Dave went with Keane, Somewhere Only We Know, which if you're talking about similar genre, I always thought that sounded to me like that could have been a Supertramp song. For some reason, that just stuck in my mind. Even though when you listen to the song, it's really good. The lyrics are really good, and I think we all can identify where we can go somewhere to talk, like with your significant other, like, oh, we know there's a place we can go. It doesn't have to be even physical, so to speak. be more of a mental aspect of it. So yeah, I thought all three of those songs kind of worked well, worked well together. And I will say the transition from Crosby to All I Know is one of those transition things like, oh, that flowed really well. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. So I'll just be honest here. That when I first heard the David Crosby, I didn't know what to think of it. It's just, it's a different kind of vocal pattern and everything. And so initially I was like, huh, okay. But I came to love that song. It's like, and it's not all just the kind of spare vocal and kind of punching certain words and that sort of thing. There's so much more to it, and it kind of alternates between that and more melodic parts. But the lyrics are just awesome. It's just two in a row from you, Jose. Good job. From David Crosby. The last one, seemed like about maybe about seeing that you're at the end of your road. And this one, it's interesting. It's also, this is how I read it. So I welcome what you guys think, but it's like basically somebody reflecting on their life and how they kind of were drawn to the darkness and and kind of a lot of things that were rough in their lives, like that would give them a creative spark. But then they came out into the line. It's like, maybe whatever I was thinking of last night wasn't quite what it's cracked up to be. So I really like that. I hope I didn't say too much that somebody else might say.
Let me jump in on that too, Mike, just because instead of waiting for the turn, let's just talk about that song. Exactly the same thing you said, and I said it the night we made the recording, as I said, man, I don't know about that Crosby song. It's like the way it started out, And I listened to that thing several times this week, and you got to do that sometimes because it changed my perspective of this song 180 degrees. Now here's something interesting. So it's the credits on the song are Becca Stevens and Michelle Willis, and they both probably sing on the song as well. I guarantee what happened is probably Becca Stevens wrote this song and said, "Hey, David, can you do this?" And he said, "Yeah, I will if you join me," and all this. So probably the lyrics are hers. The song was probably hers, and then he made it a Crosby song. Is the way I think about that, because as I listened to it over and over, I thought, wow, the harmonies and the blending and all of that was just amazing. And again, the lyrics, exactly where you gain the spark to make it, all of that was it's beautiful lyrics. And again, it changed my perspective after listening to it 3 or 4 times in a week. I really came to appreciate it. So,
well, Mike, you had the All I Know. Talk a little about picking that song and the Linda Ronstadt comes in. It was a nice blend of all these voices coming together. David Crosby, you almost could feel he could sing with anybody and it would sound good. And this All I Know song was another one where Linda Ronstadt really kind of elevates that song.
And it wasn't intentional to pick one over the other in that way. I think I just, in my mind, I'm like, I thought of the harmony. I picked that, well, in the tone of the song is similar. But that song I love. It's Jimmy Webb wrote it. He also wrote Wichita Lineman and Galveston and MacArthur Park for any Richard Harris fans out there. But I've loved his music, and he really does. Art Garfunkel's version is so famous. The song has such a kind of like Wichita Lineman, has such a lonely sound to it. But I think no haters here. If I like Jimmy Webb's version in the end better than Art Garfunkel, and he actually has a better version. I prefer that was in an earlier album, Jimmy Webb, but the harmony with her is really what I wanted to. I said it wasn't intentional, but whatever. And just the only other thing I read about this, she had said she was retiring from singing. I haven't put a lot of her music on. I do like it. but this is, I don't know if it was her last record. She's still alive, right? But I think she's lost her voice at this point.
She has.
But she said she's retiring from singing, and he talked her into coming doing this song, which her voice is still great in that, and it's kind of a sweet little story. So there, yeah, there was that, and then what was the
Keen, Dave
oh,
Keen.
Keen, yes, and yeah, the guy's voice in there, it's so familiar. I can't. You said Supertramp. I don't know. I was trying to place it. I think I wrote down a couple ideas. Well, I put down Tom York from Radiohead, and I put down Freddie Mercury. I think it's just a higher pitched voice, but there's something else about it that's very familiar. I really liked it. And it is another one of these songs. It's like, the way I'm hearing it is he's like, this couple is maybe about to break up, and he's like, let's go find this old place, which really does fit in with the kind of the stream of songs we have here, one way or another. So I thought you guys did a great job.
Well, I can't say that I own their albums or knew the group or anything. I've said this before. I had an older son who in that time frame turned me on to some of his music, and I just had that one song in my playlist for years. And so it's the only Keen song I know, but it got a lot of airplay. It's probably their most popular song. So just was waiting for the time to spring that on you. Interesting though, with the Jimmy Webb and Linda Ronstadt. Yeah, her voice is just so special. You know it when you hear it. It almost reminds me a little bit of when she did some of the duets with Aaron Neville, and did a few love songs and things like that she did. There's a similar kind of sentiment to it. But yeah, I don't know much about Jimmy Webb. I knew about the Art Garfunkel version, but I didn't intentionally do this. It just kind of happened. But we put All I Know, and then I put Somewhere Only We Know. Like it wasn't intentional, but it kind of worked out that way. But again, I think all three songs were a good order right there in the middle of the playlist.
Oh yeah, no, it really worked well. All those songs really worked well together. And then we kind of take a quick turn. I went with Mo, She Sends Me, but then it's the next four, maybe all the way till the end, where it kind of really goes to a little Latin flavor. I did She Sends Me with Mo, which is just one of my favorite Mo songs. It was kind of my favorite for a long time of their songs, because it's just kind of one of those funny we all can identify with that, when you're in love and you have all these little quirks with somebody, and the emotion there. And then of course Mike just went completely. He went to Nuevo Laredo, which I think I've been to Nuevo Laredo by Kirk Douglas Quintet. So if anyone can say they've been to Nuevo Laredo, I did. And then Dave went with Coldplay's Viva La Vida, which is a popular song. I think they even did it at the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. It's okay. I remember that being such a big hit, and I can understand it. And maybe Dave could talk to about the controversy of them kind of ripping off other people's song. They were sued like three different people about this song. Like they stole certain elements of songs from other people to make the song, and they usually settled out of court or something like that. So, interesting take on all three of those songs.
Yeah. Again, well, your song, Jose, I want to come back to it. I'm going to be short on the other stuff because I want to say a little more about yours. My not bad, just indulge me. The Nuevo Laredo, I wanted to put on something by Doug Sahm for a long time. I did put that one on. I guess he covered that song. What is it? We heard it at the, oh gosh, never mind. I'm not going to mention stuff if I can't remember it. Anyway, Anybody Going to San Antonio, whatever that song. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. It just seemed it turned into an upbeat kind of thing there, and so that was all I could think of. I actually had a Pete Townsend song in my head, but it was too rockin', and I was like, okay, here we go. So it was not intentional to go to. There's a little Spanish in there, and we'll talk more about Spanish because that comes up more in the playlist. And then what do we? Viva La Vida. I know the song. I don't understand what it's about. It's a fun song, but is it about King Louis? It's really interesting. I even looked it up and I couldn't get a definitive answer. But it's a great song. So I'm curious about your thought on that. So back to your song, Jose. So when she sends me by Mo. Let me see if I make sure I have this here. That I didn't really hear it when you're playing it because I was like suddenly realizing I have no idea what I'm gonna put on. And then it gets more lively as the song goes on. I'm like, crud, what am I gonna put on? So I was a little distracted. You talked about it a little bit, Dave. Oh yeah, I heard about the corn and the mole on her back and stuff. But then I listened to it and I love it. It's like despite she has all these things that people might not see as beautiful or whatever, but I love her more than anything. Which brings me to now what I'm going to take a little time on, not much. So there's a Shakespeare sonnet that this reminded me of so much when I heard it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it has lines like and this is a very well-known one, so you may know it. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If hairs be, I'm skipping here. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. Let's see. And in some perfumes, there is more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. And so it's all these lines about she's not, this is who she is. But he ends the same way. It's like, but I love, there is none better, So that's what that made me think of. And now we have a little Shakespeare in there too.
Well, I think I liked all three of these songs, but let's talk about the Mo one first. It's not the first time I heard it. I have to go back about a week and a half ago, which I've talked about this before. When you listen to music on the Apple playlist and you get to the end of the playlist, it starts selecting songs by similar artists or artists that are on your playlist and goes, hey, maybe you would like this song. So because we've listened to Mo on other playlists, I'm listening to it. And then another Mo song comes on. So I heard this song a couple of weeks ago, but it was not the live version. It was just a regular version. And I would encourage you actually to go back and listen to the regular version. It's the live version's great, but the regular version, you can hear the lyrics a little bit better maybe. But any song that starts out with saying she thinks of John Travolta on the same day as me, she even likes artichoke hearts like me. She likes corn. She likes corn on the cob. She eats her cornflakes. It's just the basic stuff. She plays piano and she's an artist, and just describing her in a normal way. But the cool part is, I want to be her hero. I want to be her man. I want her to like me. And she loves me a whole freaking lot. She loves me a whole freaking lot. And so it's just a great lyric and a great vibe, a great tune. Love it. But I encourage you to go back and listen to the regular version of it as well. And then the Nuevo Laredo, and again, not familiar with that, but I like that when we're getting into the Hispanic beat and doing all that. It was just kind of a cool. It's almost like Los Lobos and some of these other bands that we played. So then it came to me, and I'm like, okay, I got to come up with something Spanishy. Well, Viva La Vida is not Spanishy in any way. The title is, but otherwise, Coldplay. Not really sure exactly. He talks about when he ruled the world, and they served my head on a silver plate, and they're after me, and St. Peter's not going to let me in, and all of that kind of thing. And so kind of like he's a bad dude and he's done bad things, and yeah, I don't know, other than it was a cool pop song at the time, very popular, and I've liked it. I like the lyrics. I like the song in general. I sing a lot to it, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good. I think the subtitle is about death and something about friends and stuff like that. So I think it's follows in that same vein, but yeah, like you said, the lyrics are a little out there. And of course you can understand why it's a big hit. And I'll just say She Sends Me. There's also different live versions where they do reggae at the end. Just throwing that out there. I don't know why they mix that up, but if you listen to enough Mo. And then of course Dave, because, and I'm not going to be that guy who says white people should be singing about Spanish things when they're not Spanish. But I just countered with, because Viva la Vida, then I knew Santana had a song called Viva la Vida because it's on my favorite live album by Santana. It's a whole Spanish song, so of course it has Spanish rocket. Mike decided he was sick of the Spanish stuff, so he went with Better Days with the Kings, which of course is a great little song. I don't know if it fits right in there, but it's fun to listen to, that's for sure. You know, and it's a great little song. And then Fernando by ABBA. Y'all can just discuss that amongst yourselves. Mike, what was your thoughts?
The Santana song I loved, and I had to look up the lyrics are all in Spanish. So I looked it up. I think to Google Translate. My Spanish isn't that good. It's not good at all. But it's great. I mean, it's renounce, push back against evil and push back against hate. Maybe not evil, but hate and all that stuff. He references Bob Marley. Good Lord, Nelson Mandela, and it was just I thought it was great. So I'm glad I did look up the lyrics because it's a great song anyway. Santana, he just has that sound to his guitar that I could hear in any song, and it would improve the song, and then Better Things by the Kinks. I was out of songs at this point. That's one that I wanted. I had nothing in mind that would continue the Spanish language direction. So it's off of Give the People What They Want, and it's basically, a wish for somebody, almost like a toast. I wish better things for you tomorrow. And I've always kind of like just very kind of not spare, but it's piano and kind of later Kinks. They only did a few more records after that, but that's always been one of my favorites. And then Fernando. Do you want to? Actually, I think it'd be fair maybe for you to take on Fernando first.
Well, I'll talk about the others, and then we'll save the best for last.
Okay, very good.
So the Santana thing, yeah, I had to do the same thing, Mike. Actually the lyrics came up on Apple in English, and so I'm like, "Whoa, what's this about?" And it's actually about South Africa and apartheid and overcoming oppression and doing all that. So that was way cool. That even though I didn't know what they were saying until they got to the end, and then you could hear them saying, Mandela, and different things like that. But so yeah, way cool. And we're being exposed to more Santana, not just Oye Como Va. I mean, come on, you got to have more than just that. And then with Better Things, it's just a nice, nice simple song there. I'm glad you put it on because it broke up the things we were doing already with the Spanish thing, and it's okay. It was like good. I like this song. It's really cool. It almost reminded me a little bit. It had the late '60s kind of vibe with like something that Brian Wilson or the Pet Sounds and Beach Boys would have put out, something like that too. It just reminded me of that. Okay, so that's.
Well, before we get to that, let me just say that Viva la Vida, the Santana and the Better Days actually works together. Just positive, uplifting songs. So just throw that out there. Now y'all can discuss your.
And then overcoming, with Fernando, if you think about it. Hang on just a minute. I got to do something.
We said ABBA, right? As if there's another Fernando song, but just in case.
No,
not by Cher.
What was that Disney movie about the bull? Wasn't that Fernando? Yeah, y'all don't know, but I think there's a movie. Look it up. I think there's a movie called Fernando. But y'all can enjoy your ABBA.
So, well, if you think, I mean, okay, I know it's ABBA. We talked about this before, where Mike kind of said, hey, I kind of like some of that. Maybe we should find a place to put this on. I know, Jose, you're not a big fan. I'm not like super, a groupie for ABBA or anything, but I like their simple songs or arrangements. They have catchy, hooky songs that stick in your mind and stick in your head when you hear them. And this is kind of one of those ones. It's more of the slower song, but you know, when they finally get past the slow verse part and break into the chorus, and they're like, "There's something in the air that night. The stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining there for you and me, for liberty. Though we never thought we could lose. There's no regret." And then the sentiment I like is, if I had to do the same again, I would, my friend Fernando. And I feel like that with you guys, man. If I had to go through this again and we had to do this thing again, I'd do the same, man. I'd lay down my life. I'd do what I needed to do to get us through the night. And again, it sticks in your head. It's a catchy tune, and I'm not gonna completely apologize for it. But I
Never.
will say I did have some playlist regret as I listened down through, and I thought, I could have put on, and there were like 10 songs that popped into my head. I could have put this one on at the end, and with the Genesis at the beginning, and then this one at the end. I had some cool Yes songs, and some other ones like that would have went, oh, that would have bookended this thing really cool. And coming off of the Kinks song, all of that. That didn't happen.
Damn.
Just went with Fernando, and that's okay. Years from now, you'll probably be fast forwarding on the playlist to get to Fernando. That's it.
Yeah, I get that regret, the second guessing too, when we do playlists that we have a list of songs to choose from. It's like, something pops into your head and then you're committed, you choose a song. And I've had regrets as the song, you guys are listening to the song that I just chose. I'm like, dang it, I can't change it now, but okay, yeah, don't apologize for Fernando. The chorus is what makes the song for me. I mean, I get it, they're running from the troops and crossing the Rio Grande, and now he's old and they've grown together. Okay, but it's that chorus. That's basically the song for me. And I remember when I was a kid, ABBA did a lot of really songs I really don't enjoy, but there's a few that I'll stick my neck out and not I'll endure somebody making fun of me. Fernando's one that I like. So good job for taking a risk on that, for taking a chance on that song.
We gotta incur the wrath of Jose though, but I think there's safety in numbers here. If we stick together, solidarity, brother, we gotta stick together.
Like Fernando. Now, believe me, I'm in the minority when it comes to that. ABBA's very popular. ABBA sold billions of albums, billions of records. So, as much as I'm not gonna be buying any ABBA anytime soon, like that's the whole reason for these playlists, is to introduce yourselves to some of these songs and enjoy them for what they are. Not just, sure, we're always overcritical of certain people, or we have a biasness that's already been built into us on certain groups. Like, oh, I can. But sometimes when you're introduced to them and you really listen to it, you're like, I should be giving this a second chance. Because let's face it, sometimes our biases are just rooted in there. You're just like the Spirit song, the Christopher. Oh no, this guy. No. You're initially thinking, what's this? No, this guy, Lady in Red guy. No, this isn't gonna work. But then you listen to that, like, oh, okay, yeah, and that's I think the beauty of this place. Yes, am I gonna be buying ABBA albums for the next year? No, but I enjoy it and I appreciate that. Hey, even though I can be that guy, that hates, put it on there. Let's get it out there. Let's listen to it. Let's understand it so we can get a better understanding, instead of being, because, and I know we are all like this, we're kind of music elitist in a sense. And of course, as music elitists, you tend to, of course, like, that grew, oh no, thank you. But instead, what I've learned over these 22 is, man, we've been introduced to a lot of good stuff from a lot of people we never would have listened to, never even thought of listening to. So yeah, Throw in the ABBA, put it on, give it to me.
I think this is gonna open the door for Mamma Mia or You Are My Dancing Queen.
Okay, maybe I regret saying it, all I just said.
I'll just say my youngest daughter loves ABBA, and I did take her to an ABBA tribute band concert in Colorado Springs, and it was great, and we had a lot of fun, and she loved it.
There you
So
go.
I put it on in a little bit for my daughter Jenna. She'll appreciate it if she listens to the playlist. You know, she said, "Good choice, Dad. Good choice."
Now, there you go. See,
You know, I often talk about those the music we'd play in my car when I was a kid, and I've mentioned several 8-track tapes, and we had an ABBA greatest hits 8-track tape. So that's how I got to know a lot of their music. The other thing I just would real quick, this song, there is a Spanish language version. I haven't heard it, but I read of it. But there's also Fernando in Swedish.
Mm.
So again, you know, they're a Swedish band. They're staying true to their roots, I guess. But it'd be interesting. Anyway,
yeah, like I said, this whole playlist is really, it was a great idea, you know, because it really introduced us to a lot of different songs that we'd never listened to. And, you know, do I recommend it? It's tough. You know, it's like Mike said, it's like we all said, in the moment, we're trying to listen to the song, but we're not listening. We're thinking of what can I play next? What the pressure's on? What do I play next? And because of that, these are one of those playlists where you learn to appreciate it afterwards. Like I said, when I go walk, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to this, like Bees Wings. I mean, come on, you know, that's just such a great song. That, of course, Mike had it in his mind. He put it on there, threw it on there, didn't care if it fit in or didn't fit in, but there it was. And man, how many times you go back and listen to a lot of these songs and just think, wow, that was a great choice. So all around, I had a lot of fun with it. Any final thoughts?
no, loved it.
No, me too. That's just love doing this kind of thing. Just keep it going. Hopefully, the people who are watching the podcast will go check out the playlist because you know, hearing us talk, that's just whatever. That's for us, whatever. That's some interesting insight. But what we really want you to do is go check out the playlist, listen to the music, and be exposed to maybe some music you didn't know about before. And that's really what this is all about. So hopefully you'll check out the playlist.
I concur. So there's another edition down, 22 down, hundreds more to go, I'm sure. So everyone take care and we'll see you next time.